We're certainly deep into our journey through The Awakening, Kamelot's newest collection of exquisite work, in my opinion. We've entertained thus far together 7 songs in total off the album. We have a couple more to go, and with The Looking Glass, I'm going to judge the work fairly, of course. I can't help but see, though, it's the work right before the one I've been so keen in addressing, and all of you fans of Kamelot who have been pining away for me to recognize this group on the channel, you've been requesting it for some time, and I love being able to deliver on my promise to you that I was planning on this. You know the work I'm talking about, because maybe you can think of the adjacent presences with that song on 2 respects, though, to be fair. One, for sure, and everyone is a bit of a surprise to me. But The Looking Glass is our prelude piece to that. So, in the course of gauging the album in full, as I told you was my intention for a little while, coming off of the Shadow Theory, though I was debating it originally. Like, I don't oftentimes, again, as I said, in many respects, do full-length album reactions to be diplomatic to the many artists I have to consult, largely based perhaps on a number of your recommendations, which I'm still working my way through, as well as names that I maybe come across in passing or that I'm familiarized to that I haven't engaged with their stuff yet. I got a lot of artists to look through and to spotlight on the channel. That's been a goal of mine, to materialize music in a grander focus, and I cover a grand share, as a number of you know. So with Kamelot, I'm just happening on them, right? And I didn't mean to wait so long. But it's been wonderful to humor the journey with you, especially as a Kamelot initiate. I'm really enjoying the ride, and I'm grateful that I chose to spotlight this album, because I think it deserves that full-length recognizability that I've awarded to other specific talents on a case-by-case basis. Just something pulled at me with presumption of Kamelot and the regard for many of you in the recommendations, as well as listening to the Shadow Theory in its entirety. Something kept nagging, and thus far exploring the album with you, it's a good release in full, but the individuality of the groups from piece to piece, when you recognize those signature elements, especially on pieces that have a strong presence to them, I wouldn't have the ride any other way. I know it wouldn't be the same if I were exploring the album by myself. I like the fellowship journey of sorts I can provide, whether it be to the satisfaction of many of you longtime Kamelot fans I know will be approaching this, or perhaps to any first listeners who are just inquiring on the name of Kamelot. Maybe you've heard it before, maybe you haven't, right? But you haven't started your journey down. I have. I can't wait to entertain more and get a better respect for a very deep library, because I've been around for a number of years. But maybe you'll enjoy this experience with me, and that'll start you on the path of Kamelot as well. I do hope, again, like I said on this channel many times, I cover a broad range of artists intentionally in geography and name respect and genre focus, in part perhaps to inspire paths for you if you want to explore good talent. There has not been one artist or one song on this channel that I have not liked covering or enjoying with you, and I love that fellowship experience with my favorite of the art languages today. Music is very much that. It's been for a number of years. So sharing in that journey and appreciating good work is always something that I admire. And with Kamelot, that's no exception. And I hope you experience the same effect as we get ready for the next song, for sure. I can't wait to get to that one, but we are starting with The Looking Glass first. So we have to take this one pit stop first before we get to the ultimate destination of where I've been pining away to get to all day as I've looked at The Awakening with you. Let's entertain it together. I'm going to go ahead and pull up The Looking Glass. As many of you know, if you consulted my music coverage before, lyrics, as always, are provided in the video if you want to read along with the narrative of the piece. I will be doing so on my own as well as the song plays. Those are available for you. If not, sit back and enjoy the ride. For those of you who are first initiate or Kamelot listeners, you've never humored them before, or you've just been curious to, I think you're going to like it. Just, again, on general presumption, because The Awakening thus far has been a wonderful listen in the punk, I'm going to keep getting the P word wrong, power metal territory with a symphonic backing. At least in my opinion, again, that's what's come across in terms of the atmosphere of The Awakening. I've loved every minute I've heard of it. I'm sure The Looking Glass will be no different. Okay, here we go. Got a real grunge here on key. Higher inflection on the instruments, okay, especially on the keyboard effect. Not bad. It just starts at a more guttural pitch. You're like, sounds more ominous.
What if I told you a story where all
sound a bit fantastical. Oh, that'd be nice. That sounds like where fear is a servant to you, you have to engineer a type of world. That's challenging. I've tried. That snare mixed with the ascendancy on that transition, beautiful effect. Especially the whisper effect to launch in the pre-chorus. Tommy doesn't scream that much, but I'll take anything that kind of bears a more eerie stimulation of that effect. This is a great metal foundation. I love that rock vibe. There we go. Like, something pattern's gonna come in soon. I like that drop though. Again, differentiation. It's a true assertion. Nice snare elevation. The Looking Glass is a great title based on the scope of the piece and narrative. Oh, I like this break. Like I said, it's an inspirational vision. There we go. Yeah, what if? It's a thought. We've got about 45 seconds to go on this. Like I said, I'm looking at the lyrical count. There's not anything else specified after that last chorus iteration, so they're gonna have to really carry the song out. But it's a strong outro for it. Okay, the drop off at like 16 seconds? Okay. Oh. I guess it works. Like I said, it's rather quick. But that works, definitely. It's a good conclusion. As I said, I think narrative marries best to that song. That inspirational lens of looking through the looking glass at a life that's just presumptive. At least, although you could certainly try to earn it. Yeah, a lot of questions. I like the idea of that song. What if I told you a story where all but you, where fear is a servant to you? I would love a world like that. I've tried to self-create it. It's worse in some respects. It's difficult. It's certainly going against reality in a temporal world, you know. The fallen world at that, but you know, you can tempt the possibility. I like the imagination of it. Again, it's a bit more figurative and ambitious of a piece. With good pacing, it's much more standard rock metal bass line, at least in rhythm choice, with good transitional phrases. And a good break, too, very satisfactory. And that's individual snare as well. I have not heard that pop up yet in the constructions of The Awakening. That was actually a pretty good delight and, I think, departure from what's been expected, at least on other sound cues. But I like the vision of the album, again, as it's materializing and the evolution of it on part of certain works that do stand out on its individualized elements, which this one has in some part. Though I think it feels much more mainstream to that rock and metal basis for Kamelot. I like the lyrical storytelling to it. That's kind of that, and the snare cues, and some of the transitional phrases as well on that one are what stand out. Otherwise, it comes off, to me, more like a mainstream skeleton of the rock and metal model. It has that familiar tone to it that, for anybody on a first approach, if you are coming in and you're just like a general rock and metal fan, I would imagine that is wide appeal, right? When you go into music, it can be subjective on experience, and it's highly specified what's advantageous from one listener to another. There might be various contrasts and comparisons within that field. I feel that this song has a good base appeal, with certain attributes of subtle flaring that give it that individual regard that's making some certain pieces, well, really each piece on The Awakening, in various respects, it's placing it as its own construction. And, I like that with a group, again, that you have where tracks don't feel that mainstream or cohesive, generally, right? They express some sort of unique change, where it's not, you don't experience this feeling of universal monotony. And then there are some groups as well that might depart from that, for sure, right? I consider, as I said, music is subjective. I know my tastes might kind of float in between both territories, so I might be a hypocrite to my own word on that respect. But I do like when pieces are, again, they express an originalist version of what's been established as a mainstream viewpoint of an artist. And I think that The Looking Glass has that mainstream cohesion, but does isolate itself in specific ways that make it still an advantageous listen in part, where maybe it might escape that mainstream attribution from some, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are down below. Maybe you're like, this is more a more specified piece I'm giving it regard for. It just kind of, again, has that mainstream basis, at least in my opinion, from what I've heard. But I'd love to hear your general presumptions on the piece, whatever angle you come from as well. Longtime Kamelot fan, I know there will be a number of you as well as perhaps, and I hope this is the case, first-time listeners that feel compelled and to go down the Kamelot rabbit hole. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I like it as a piece. It's a good work, and I think it's a great addition on part to The Awakening. It definitely is, I think, the most mainstream in feel of the pieces as they've been constructed on the album's arrangement. Although, again, I can't ignore, and I'm sure anybody else would agree with this, who's knowledgeable on what piece is next, that we're all kind of like, well, we'll hear this one, but we want to get to... It's kind of like that point where, like, okay, we're having a great time, but it's a new piece that's really reaching at us. So... if we're going for the entire album, we were demanded to take the pause. And The Looking Glass is a great piece that certainly still experiences a bit of an overwhelmed throttle to, okay, I'm trying to explain it best, but you're like, you enjoy the piece, right, as its own, but you still have that other one that's like, hey, come listen to me. I mean, well, the next video, for sure. I mean, everybody's been waiting for that, myself included. But The Looking Glass, was a good pause. It's an interesting piece on narrative, and as I said, like I mentioned earlier and surveyed on it, mainstream meets individualized, snare, explicit, good visioned narrative. I like that kind of question-answer mentality of it, especially as it's inquiring again on a life that's more fantastical than could be, but is not, at least for the most part, again, in the current world we live in. Maybe on ambition it can be manifested, who knows. But good snaring, interesting pacing, and great transitional phrases, even amidst, again, like I said, more of a mainstream established feel on general rock and metal emphasis. There is a fun, with still the same atmosphere of what Kamelot has demonstrated quite adeptly. There is still a uniqueness trait that manifests with the song. It's fitting the model of the other releases as well, in particular to how those are received, and I enjoy that a lot. when it comes to individualized specificity. It's something I look for, and I think the Looking Glass keeps that trend going. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.